By now, I'm sure we've all heard the story of Jacob Blake, a soon-to-be husband and a father. Mr. Blake is the latest in the never-ending story of American police brutality. We're going to dive into it and present the details that may have been overlooked. I'm Nail Ali, and this is Verified. Kenosha, Wisconsin. On August 23rd at 5:11 p.m., Kenosha officers responded to a call of a domestic incident. According to witnesses, Mr. Blake was simply trying to break up a fight between two women. And this is where the infamous video begins. Kenosha police are seen attempting to detain Mr. Blake. Video footage shows Mr. Blake calmly returning to his vehicle containing his 3 children. When Mr. Blake tried entering his vehicle, an officer, gripping his shirt at point-blank range, opened fire, shooting Jacob Blake 7 times in his back. Mr. Blake was then taken to a local hospital and went into surgery the following Tuesday. According to attorney Ben Crump, the 7 bullets severed Mr. Blake's spinal cord and shattered his vertebrae, leaving him paralyzed. For some odd reason, the authorities found it necessary to handcuff our brother to his hospital bed. It wasn't until days later that his handcuffs were removed. The community was immediately outraged, and rightfully so. Later that evening, the night of the shooting, a large crowd gathered and protests ensued. Residents of Kenosha set cars aflame, smashed windows of local businesses, and clashed with officers in riot gear. A 7 p.m. curfew was set, but that proved to be little help in restoring order to Kenosha. On September 1st, President Trump visited the divided city of Kenosha, Wisconsin. His arrival comes on the heels of the Jacob Blake shooting and the murder of 2 protesters. For those of you who may not know, 2 protesters were killed by a domestic terrorist named Kyle Rittenhouse. But back to the president. Many of the residents, including Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers, were not pleased with the president's decision. In fact, prior to his arrival, Governor Evers asked the president to reconsider his decision. In a letter written by Governor Evers to President Trump, Mr. Evers wrote, quote, "I am concerned your presence will only hinder our healing. I am concerned your presence will only delay our work to overcome division and move forward together." End quote. In local news, on August 31st in Los Angeles, 29-year-old Dijon Kizzie was killed by 2 deputies of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. At about 3:15 p.m., Mr. Kizzie was approached by 2 deputies. The officers claimed he was riding in violation of vehicle codes, and they attempted to stop him. However, when they approached him, Mr. Kizzie got off his bicycle and ran down the street. When the officers caught up with Mr. Kizzie, he allegedly punched one of the deputies in the face and dropped several pieces of clothing he had been carrying. Now, the deputies claim Mr. Kizzie dropped a black semi-automatic handgun in the clothing that fell just moments earlier. It was at this time that the officers opened fire a reported 27 times, killing Dijon Kizzie at the scene. Now, let's talk about this. As most in the black community are painfully aware, this talk of he had a handgun comes across as nothing more than another weak attempt at justifying the murder of another black man. It's obvious that Dijon Kizzie meant no harm to the officers, but was rather frightened by their presence. And who can blame him? If there's one thing we know as black men being approached by the police, it's that your life could be over by the end of the exchange. It's important to keep in mind that up until now, we've reported what was released to mainstream media. But our Verified team went down to 109th and Budlong to get the real story from the family and the community. We even spoke to an eyewitness. Let's take a look at that footage.
Okay, Dijon is a whole generation younger than me. I'm older than him. He would be my son. What we believe happened is systemic racism. This man was riding a bicycle and his life was disrupted by a police officer who's supposed to be a peace officer. He enters our community and he does not make peace. He does not keep the peace. He disrupts the peace. My cousin was riding a bicycle. I have yet to get the penal code that they're speaking about how he was in violation of something on a sidewalk. He was running down the street. He was shot in the gutter. He was left for all these people to walk around and take pictures and videos and post it on social media for all of my family who is not present in Los Angeles to see. When other people in other neighborhoods get murdered, they have big tents so the helicopter can't even see the crime scene. They put sheets over the deceased out of respect for the community. We didn't get that. We just didn't get that. We got videos of bullet holes in the back of my cousin. That's what we got. We got straight disrespect. And he laid in the gutter. The gutter. That's what he did. He laid in the gutter for hours. That's what we got.
Oh yeah, my name is Latiera, and I basically seen the whole entire, not the whole entire from the bike situation, but when he got to 109th and he came up to my car and he was like, they trying to get me, they trying to get me. He was like, I'll give you some money to drop me off. But me not knowing who he's running from or what he was into, I told him no. And then I looked out the window and I seen the police coming. When I seen the police coming, he seen them too, so he walked across the street. And he wasn't even on the sidewalk. He walked across the street and the police car came really fast up on him. And the passenger police hopped out the car. He fell on the ground. The guy was already, had his clothes and his phone in his hand, and he had his hands up when he was bagging up trying to get away from the police officer. So when the police officer got up and like got towards him, he lunged at him and like they was wrestling. So somehow, some way he dropped all his stuff, all his belongings while they was wrestling. And then somehow the police got him to turn around and turn back around and shot him 3 times.
Being at the site of this tragedy with the family was a special privilege. The love we felt was a reflection of the beauty of our brother Dijon. We couldn't fit all of their testimony into this segment, so we'll be releasing these interviews, including a special moment with Dijon Kizzie's father on our YouTube channel. We strongly urge our viewers to donate to the family's GoFundMe for Dijon's funeral arrangement. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more verified content.